Hello, welcome to the show. And today we're joined by Kathy Glassey, who is from Inspire Green, if I'm right, Kathy.
hmm
And you're going to share a lot of insights about hopefully the consulting work that you do, because I found that really interesting, which is why I wanted to have you as a guest on the podcast. So first thing is first, Kathy, I should apologize to you that I'm actually still recording from my walk-in closet because I don't have everything set up. Priority is to get the recordings done. Doesn't matter
That's
where.
right. We don't know where you are,
So
Graham. It's okay.
it's okay. I'll see if I can make some improvements in the future. But anyway, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
Uh, and I'm going to start off with that first question, and I'm going to ask everybody who's a guest on the show, and that is, in your opinion, what separates tree service companies that succeed and thrive from those that just survive? Do you have two or three things in particular that stand out for you?
Absolutely. Um, the number one differentiator between a thriving company and a successful company, in my opinion, is they're very well aware of their numbers. They're well aware of their costs, their overhead costs, their company costs. But more importantly, they're willing to grow with the industry and change with the research that's coming out.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to dig into that one for sure. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Inspire Green and where you've come from and why you're in the industry.
Sure. So I've been in the industry for 35 years. This is all I know how to do, and I'm very proud to say that. Um, I started on a senior PGA golf course. I had an amazing superintendent that took me under his wing and really started teaching me about turf grass management. So my entire start was turf grass. I owned a couple landscape companies, sold them. I worked for Lesco, which was a large private um, supply company. And I started having kids. So I was like, I'm a workaholic, but I love my family as well. So I left Lesco for a little bit to take care of my children. Then I started another supply company with my husband. We turned around and sold that because I realized my kids were getting older and my parents were raising them, which I think grandparents raising children is a good thing, but I was missing my kids.
Right.
So one of my clients at Lesco owned Monster Tree Service. And he
Hmm.
called me and said, "What's going on? I'm looking for someone to start a lawn care portion of the business." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm not really ready to do anything right now." And a couple years went by. He called again, and I was ready. My kids were teenagers, and we all know how teenagers can be. They don't need mom all the time. So I definitely wanted to go back to work, and I took that opportunity. But what I quickly realized with Josh and with Monster was we needed to grow the plant healthcare service line. And I found a huge interest in it. I've always been interested in the trees, I've always been interested in plants, but my focus really was turf grass. So I just didn't spend a whole lot of time on the trees and shrubs. Um, so with Monster, I became an ISA certified arborist, dove in. I became a certified soil microscopy technician because one of the things I just mentioned is growing with our industry, and our industry is changing. So that was something very important to me because every plant starts in the soil. And Graham, I'll be honest, I tell you like it is, and everything that's amazing in your life is built on a strong foundation. So it became
Hmm.
very important to me to help the industry realize that that foundation for us, for our
Hmm.
trees, is soil. And what better way to take care of our trees and to address plant health care than to start at the root of the issue? No pun intended, but that is what it is. So that's where I've been in my journey. I left Monster because my son, Hunter, is an owner of Inspire Green with me. My son
Hmm.
grew up listening to me, watching everything, working with me. Uh, but unfortunately, he had an accident as a landscaper that caused him not to do the hard labor. And I was like, well, you know what? I love being an entrepreneur. My entire family are entrepreneurs, different industries. So I grew up learning how to run a business and what we need to do. And I said to my son, let's do this together. And let's build something that I can leave my legacy and he can continue to grow. And hopefully I can retire in 10 years, but we'll see.
That's fantastic. So a real family business
It
then.
really is. Yes, my husband's in the industry as
It's
well.
fantastic.
He's involved with
Mm.
us. My son does plant healthcare application. My other son does plant healthcare applications, and my daughter swears she'll never know anything. But when you talk to her friends
Mm.
and she's telling them about lichen on trees, she's listening too. So who knows?
Yeah,
So that's all about me.
that's beautiful. I love the idea of everything's a foundation
Mhm.
in life for sure. And that's to me, that's the same as business as well. If you don't get your foundations right, then your business tends to crumble. And I've had a few crumbling businesses in my past for sure.
You know what, Graham? That's another big difference between that thriving and successful business, because I've been there and done that as well. And I've made
Yeah,
plenty of mistakes. And when I
yeah,
consult with companies now, it's important to me to say, you don't have to make the same mistake. I mean, of course, as an owner, you can
mm,
run your business however you'd like, but I've done this. I did this before. I assure you, you don't want to make this mistake again. So there's a lot of things I've learned over 35 years that I just felt young business owners can really benefit from, or even someone who's very open minded.
hmm. So, with Inspire Green now, then what is it you actually do? Because I saw your LinkedIn profile and you're a
Hmm.
consultant.
So,
So, what does that?
it's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a lot of different things right now. Um, I've been very fortunate to love what I do my entire life. I've been very fortunate to have a ton of opportunities come my way. So I'm doing a little bit of a lot. So, most important to me is helping a young tree company grow into plant healthcare. Um, and we could talk about that more, but plant healthcare is a little bit daunting
Mhm,
to some people. And it doesn't have to be as scary as you may think it is. There might be a million insects in the world, but it doesn't mean we have to identify each and every one on day one. Uh, so I really enjoy simplifying the process of what we do. But again, it's coming back to healthy trees, and I love that we're planting trees, on Arbor Day and Earth Day. But the fact is, if we don't care for the trees that we have, we're not doing the best we can, in my opinion. Planting trees is
mm,
great, but it's the bigger trees that are providing a lot of the oxygen and taking in the carbon dioxide more so than the young trees. And if they're healthy, they're less resistant to pest and disease. So again, going to the foundation, it's important to me that our industry goes to the soil first. We can say we need to kill this insect or suppress this disease, but it's important to say that this all started because of, and I'll give you a
mm,
little reason why. When my kids were little, I'd take them they'd start going to school, and of course, kids get sick with everything under the sun. So I would take them to the doctor, and the doctor would say, "Oh, it's just a virus, they'll be fine," or, "Oh, let's put them on an antibiotic and they'll be fine." And I'd come home from the doctor, and my husband would be like, "Well, what virus is it? What bacteria is it?" I'm like, "I don't know. There's 190 viruses they have to get immune
mm,
to." And I understand that, but it made me think along the way that as we grow and we're raising our kids, the things we eat matter. Everything comes from the soil, and the soil has a microbial diversity just like our intestines. So a lot of things in my
mm,
personal life kind of really resonate into my career. But the best part is it makes it easy for a homeowner to understand.
mm,
Like a sales arborist can come out and we can talk to you and really geek out about trees. But if you don't understand what we're talking about, you know, you're going to try to find somebody that helps you understand. So it's important to make it simplistic and, help people understand and listen, listen to what their concerns are. So that's how I feel about that.
So when I'm working with tree service companies, you and I'm not from I'm not from the sort of arborist side of things. I'm just a digital marketing guy, but I'm learning a lot about the industry, and I see companies that do tree removals, trimming, pruning, etc. But I'm seeing more companies looking at plant healthcare, and it's almost like I want to call it like an annual subscription for homeowners or business owners who property owners to manage and look after their trees and their plants. But what I am always struggling with is that sort of message between what is plant healthcare and what does that mean to me as a homeowner, and why should I sort of partake in that service you guys offer?
Mm.
So how do we I guess the question I'm asking you is how do we make homeowners understand what it is, but how do we also make tree service companies understand what it can do for their businesses as well?
I love this question, Graham. Great question. I'm going to tackle the easiest one first. um, every tree company should adopt Planned Healthcare. Planned Healthcare is a great method of recurring revenue. And as we all know, when you build your recurring revenue, your business equity increases as well. Um, and not only because it's just recurring, but also because the profitability is much higher than general tree care. So that's the easy answer. And it's not hard to adopt it in. You've already got climbers in a tree, you've got people in the ground. There's no reason these people can't learn a little bit more just to look around the property to say, hey, Graham, I know you wanted this tree pruned, but this tree over here really could use some help. Would you like me to, take care of that or propose something for you? And so I think it's very important. I think it goes very nicely together. The other part of that is the homeowner is becoming more aware of plant healthcare. All of the climate change initiatives have really raised awareness to the importance of trees. And I really feel that's where a lot of it started, And then we ended up with, well, our pesticides are killing bees. And I understand all of that, but there's a lot more that goes into those statements than just pesticides are bad or, climate change is responsible for all of our trees dying. So for professional arborists or certified arborists like myself, the way I like to get that message out to the homeowner is, just as though you take care of yourself, you need the right balanced diet. You need the right nutrients. You need to stay hydrated. Your trees essentially need the same thing, not exactly the same, but they're very similar. And when we do construction in our yards and we compact our soil because we have a big backhoe going across by the tree, that's hurting the tree. But just because you can't see it underneath your feet doesn't mean it's not happening. Uh,
Mm,
so I always tell homeowners, there's a couple really silly experiments to do to kind of prove a point, but kids love it. So I love doing it. Showing people the difference between compact soil and a soil sponge the way it should be is as easy as taking a piece of bread and putting some flour on it and pouring water on it. And, you know,
mm.
when it doesn't come out of the bread, like I'm sure you're going to do this later, I know you will. When the water comes
You better
out,
believe it.
right? So when the water comes out, it's not being stored. But if you have that bread there, it's essentially acting as a sponge. And our soil does similar things.
Mm,
Or when you're planting your trees, and I love that people want to plant their own trees, plant them properly. One of the biggest things we see as arborists is trees that are planted too deeply. So the root flare isn't showing, and trees shouldn't look like a telephone pole in the ground or a pencil.
mhm,
They should have a little bit of a root flare, and it's a very vulnerable area of the tree. So I tell people that, or I make it simple with a soil probe. I'll try to push it in the ground, and if it's not going anywhere, even the person I'm with can clearly see that we have compact soil. So all these different things I think are important just to simplify it for the homeowner. And honestly, I don't think they care. If someone really cares about the product you're using, they're going to ask you to use something organic. And then we have that conversation. But the whole goal in my mind of plant healthcare isn't to treat your same tree year after year after year after year. My goal is to let's get rid of the insect or suppress the disease that's causing a problem, but let's address the root of the problem so we don't continually get decline. So my
Mhm.
approach is I don't just put a Band-Aid on it. I'd rather find out why it happened in the first place and let's address that too. And sometimes people don't get it. They don't understand the cost associated with plant health care, but the cost to remove a tree far exceeds it. And depending on where you are, for example, if you're up in that Midwest area, Michigan, where some of our friends are, you get invasive insects, and box tree moth is a huge one. Well, to replace every boxwood on your property, depending on what your design is, could be tens of thousands of dollars. So I try to approach it that way, that I understand plant healthcare you might be a little sticker shocked, even if it's $100, but that $100 is going to make a big difference. And I think we need to correlate it with the cost of removal or replanting. And there's a point when you can't do anything, and I think it's important. Plant healthcare is a little bit different where personally, I build my plant healthcare services on quality and reputation. I want to be on your property as much as you need me. If you want me to do one tree, that's fine. If you want me to take care of your entire property, that's fine as well. But I want to be
Mhm.
there to spot those issues because let's face it, you're the professional in the marketing. I'm the professional in the trees. So I'm going to see something a little bit more quickly than you will. I'm going to see a sign or a symptom that I was like, we can avoid further decline and damage if we do this. Um, so sometimes it's a matter of pictures, sometimes it's a matter of a savvy homeowner, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's our
Yeah.
job to provide that education.
Yeah. Now, for a tree service company who's getting into plant healthcare, I can see a lot of advantages for getting to know your customer on a long-term basis, and also growing a customer base. You were talking about the profitability of plant healthcare. If I was a tree service company wanting to get into this, how do I do this?
How do you start with plant healthcare?
Yes, yes.
Well, you have a lot of options. There are a lot of resources. The problem with our resources in our industry are they aren't that clear cut for new people to totally understand. um, so
Mm,
I highly encourage new companies to attend seminars, attend the webinars, come to TCIA and listen to. There's great conversations of where to start, or you hire someone like me. And I help you and walk you through the pesticide certification process, your business license process, what you will need. I'm very focused on regulatory compliance. So it's very important to me that whoever works with me is doing it the right way. Um, there's plenty of people out there not doing it the right way, and I'm not one of them.
right.
And that tends to be the hardest part sometimes. So, the regulatory compliance is part. After that, there are great distributors that can help you build your programs, or if you're looking for something more specific, that's where I can help as well. Um, I am very familiar with trees nationally, so I can help people with all of their avocados and lemons and limes out on the West Coast, their palms down in Florida, and we can go from there. And of course, I haven't seen everything there is to see either, and that comes up to how our industry is changing. There
Mm,
isn't there's a lot of us, right? Like, we need people who understand the life cycle of the insects. We need the pathologist to understand the diseases. We need the agronomist to understand the nutrients. So it's not just one person that helps you to succeed. And again, that's something I've learned over the years is don't be too proud to ask for help. There's a lot of
sure.
people out there
Yeah.
that will help you.
Mm,
And
yeah.
you don't know everything. I don't know everything. We still make mistakes every day, but I think it's important to ask. It's nothing wrong with asking the
Mm.
question of anyone and reach out because there's great people, great, knowledgeable, expert people in this industry. And I haven't found any that aren't willing to help one another.
I think you're right. I think if we help each other, every business will grow. And I find that with what I do as well, we have such good community of people that just help each other, and everybody grows together.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that.
And you know what, Graham? I mean, like, even though we're in different industries, like, talk to people, anyone who, just sometimes just listening gives you an idea of something. Oh, I should have thought of that. Or maybe I should do this in my business. And, you talk to customers just like we do. So, even across industries, you never know what you're going to learn from people. So I always say, don't be a hermit and just go out there and talk to as many people as you can at TCIA and everywhere you go.
Did the regulations, they change significantly from state to state, or are they fairly similar?
They can be. There are some states that are much more strict than others. But as a whole, every state requires licensing to apply pesticides. Some states
Mm,
don't require it to do fertilization or soil amendments, but every state requires it for pesticides. So those certifications might look a little bit different from you may need a couple years of experience before you can take the test. Others don't. Um, but there's ways to work with all of that. If you need 3 years of experience, but let's say you have a bachelor's of science from college, that does play a part into your
mm.
experience portion. If you've worked at a tree company for 5 years, that works into your experience portion. So, but that's something that I will talk with all of my customers. Like, are you certified? Do we need to get you certified? Because that's always the first step. What are you comfortable doing? If you're just going to do fertilizer and soil amendments and your state has no requirement, then let's build that program. And honestly, that's the base of every
Right.
successful plant healthcare program anyway. So I like to start there.
So if I was a tree service company and I wanted to bring it on a healthcare division into what I do, I can basically what I'm seeing is I can just start a very basic program, and over time I can just stack on top of that. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Plant healthcare is an amazing opportunity where, you know, uh, depending on the company, of course, but in general, we can produce enough revenue in one day that a 3-man tree crew can do in one day. And that's pretty
Mm,
substantial. The workers' comp is much lower. Your labor cost is much lower with one person going out. The equipment, your capital expenditure towards your initial equipment varies on how you want to start, but it's still, if you went with a complete package, it's very reasonable. And then you can start training people on your team. Maybe you have a ground guy who's very interested in plant healthcare. Maybe he can do plant healthcare part time to start. Maybe the owner. I've seen a lot of owners over the years who have gotten a lot of gratification going out and doing plant healthcare. And it's not full time to start typically, but if you make it your business, it'll be full time very quickly.
right. Right. So a tree service company may have two divisions. I'm thinking I'm a fairly new company. I'm certified. I do all of the regulatory work like tree removals, etc. And now I'm starting my plant healthcare division. I have two opportunities to really grow here. And I'm thinking also that as I get to know more people through the plant healthcare and also through the regular work that I do, you can almost cross pollinate the two, and I get more business that way as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I encourage people when they're starting plant healthcare, the first thing they should do is start looking for plant healthcare opportunities. And also, over the years, I've learned some great sales methods. Personally, I will say, hey, Graham, it's really great to meet with you today. If I see anything else on your property while I'm here looking at what you asked me to look at, whatever that may be, do you want me to point it out to you? And 99% of the time, people don't say no.
Mm,
They want to know what's going on. They may not have the budget to do everything they want to do, but as to me, as a certified arborist, it's important to do that. You know, you could have a very perfectly healthy tree that just because, one leaf got a little brown, that tree might be perfectly healthy, but on the other side of the property, you have one that's really struggling. And if I don't tell you, then I feel like, how am I? I'm not really building that relationship with you at that point, then, am I?
right, right. So through the years, how has plant healthcare changed from when you were a young arborist starting your work until now? Where is it going? I'm curious.
I think the fact that pesticides have become a bad word bothers me a little bit. And only from the perspective of many people clean their homes every weekend, and many people use brand name products. I'm not going to say names, um, but those
Mm,
products are actually worse for you than a lot of the products we use outside. Um, I even tell people when you go to fill your vehicle with gas, the fact that you're touching the nozzle, that's more harmful to
mm,
you than pesticides we use. Um, so I don't like that pesticides have become a bad word because I think there is a place for them. I don't think that inexpensive broad spectrum products are the way to go. I think that's a quick and easy way to get rid of an issue. But a product that could potentially hurt pollinators and beneficial insects or do more damage than good, there's just other opportunities out there. But I think what people are used to are you hear about the bees dying, and they immediately relate that to neonicotinoids. So now that's being
mm,
banned in many areas. And yes, you don't want to do that with a pollinating tree. However, sometimes that might be the best solution, and it's a matter of doing things responsibly. So that has definitely changed. When I started, I was using products that, and I'll be honest with you, I'd go home every day with a headache or not feeling well. And I'm like, what the heck? And I knew it was the products I was spraying. I was using all the proper PPE, you know, but I just knew that they were harsh products and we would mix 4 or 5 and 6 of them together to do different things. And it's been really nice to watch our industry not do that anymore. So that's a significant change where our products are becoming more targeted for the right pest and for the right portion of the life cycle that's most vulnerable. That's the biggest thing I see. And that's what I think we need to let people know is professionals are going to use a holistic approach, not just any product that they can get from someone. The other area I've seen significantly change, probably in the past 15 years or so, is about soil health. I never heard about soil health when I started in this journey, ever. We all knew that you planted things in dirt and that was it. You moved on. But the fact that we have learned how important soil microbial diversity is, how important the soil texture and composition are, and how much it makes a difference has changed my entire strategy. Like I said, I do applications only because I'm one of those people where if I'm going to tell other people or suggest how to do other things, I want to make sure it works as well. So I won't suggest anything that I know isn't going to work. But
mm.
soil health works. The soil amendments work, and increasing that biology works. And again, because we come from a synthetic world of pesticides, and a lot of those synthetics damage the biology. And it's unintentional. It's not like anyone intended to do this, not bad people, whoever did all this, because I was one of them. But we've learned. And it's nice to see that change now because now a lot of us are trying to do better, do the right thing, focus on the soil so that the plant can be healthy.
So the industry is growing, the education is getting better, the science is getting better, we're understanding more about what is going into the soil and what's going into our plants. How as a tree savers company can I learn all this information if I don't already know it?
A lot of research. Read, listen to podcasts, talk to people again. Um, every state has an extension. I know you're up in Canada, but here a lot of the extensions work very
Mm,
closely with universities. You can sign up for a Master Gardeners program if you'd like. Um, there are websites such as the Soil Food Web School. There's quite a few of the different soil certifications going on right now. But again, or just reach out to someone like myself and say, where do I start? What do I
mm.
do? And the first conversation I have with people is, well, what do you know about soil biology? Do you know that and I love it because you're from the UK. When the BBC put out how trees communicate and talk to one another, that was one of the best 2-minute videos ever. And now, we see Kiss the Ground, we see all these other things. So if nothing else, watch Netflix to start.
I think I'm going to watch Netflix because I missed that.
Yeah, don't miss that one. There's a lot of good ones
I
right
missed
now.
that one. And you mentioned TCIA as well. I'm guessing TCIA and the ISA have education as well for plant healthcare. And I think, if I recall, I was there when there were some sessions and they were absolutely packed. So I'm guessing that it's quite a popular subject.
I think so.
um, and a lot of tree service companies are now adopting plant healthcare plans.
Mhm. It's nice to see. I mean, and you don't have to go crazy. If you just want to start with, I'm not a big fan of starting with invasive insects, because again,
Mm,
most things are attracted to a stress tree, but emerald ash borer, box tree moth, our Dutch elm disease, our beech leaf disease, all of these things, spotted lanternfly, they're all invasives. It's a great place to start because it's a little bit more, um, I don't want to say simplified, but it's one insect instead of, 20 different things.
mm,
But I go back to, I encourage people that if you have emerald ash borer, it's a boring insect. There's a gazillion other boring insects out there. So depending on where you are in the country, it may not be emerald ash borer. It may be, you
mm,
know, uh, an oak borer or something, or chestnut borer. But the fact is, it's a boring insect, and our treatment remains the same. So think it's most important just to get it narrowed down to, you may have invasive insects, but if you only treat those, you're missing everything else out there. And I just don't feel like if I came to your house and said, "Hey, Graham, you have emerald ash borer here," and you're like, "Well, what about this tree?" "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I can't handle that tree."
mm,
I just kind of feel like that's not building the brand and the reputation that people would want to
mm,
build. So let's narrow it down to the 5 categories of insects. And if you know it's a piercing, sucking insect, doesn't matter which one it is, the treatment's pretty
right.
much going to be the same. And
Mm,
then inevitably, that makes everything a lot easier because we treat the piercing, sucking insect generally the same depending on the time of year. But
mm,
now it's one product for this category of insects. So you're not having your pesticide storage facility full of 30 different products because you don't need them. So again, it brings you back to profitability in your business. We're going to do it
right.
smart. We're going to build your business with the right products at the right time, and we're going to mix them at the right rate so that you're not throwing your money out the window.
And you can literally start with one truck and some some help from somebody like you, and now you have a plant healthcare
Uh,
program. Is that
exactly.
is it as simple as that?
Exactly. There's a couple companies I work with that's what we do. They text me,
Mm,
call me. If I'm available any evening or weekend, I will answer them. If I'm not, I don't. you know. But the fact is, when we're building businesses and, sometimes you have to work some crazy hours and I'm okay with that. So I'd rather not interrupt their workday. I'd rather them call me,
mm,
and let's talk through whatever the issue may be. But yeah, so I'm pretty much on call every day for them and we walk through things. They send tons of pictures. I never diagnose by pictures, but it's a great way for me to see the property with them. And then we just go from there and,
right,
and they're doing
right.
really, really well with that model. So I'm going to stick to that.
For the homeowner, if I'm a homeowner and I decide to get a plant healthcare plan with you, what does that mean for me? What do I see going on,
Mm.
and when do I see it going
You
on?
know, I
How do I know something's going on?
how do you know? First and foremost, I always am going to promote working with a certified arborist in your area and someone that you can trust. Um, I have never worked with a homeowner directly. I have only worked with business to business.
Mm,
Not that I wouldn't, um, but I think it's important too when you're dealing with these products that you're dealing with someone who knows how to mix them properly. They're not going to hurt anything. Not that you would. I mean, I know there's smart people who can read labels, but that's what we're here for, So let's just get you the right solution at the right time, and let's stick with a professional. When I had my landscape businesses, I had several people, and this was for lawn care, they're not playing healthcare.
Mm,
They wanted to do their own lawn, and there's plenty of commercials out there to promote doing your own lawn. So those people I would absolutely provide guidance, but I was there every week. My crew was there mowing their lawn so I could constantly see what was happening. If I was working with someone like you, there's a part of me wants to start like a plant healthcare, TikTok or something. But again, what are you going to see? It really depends.
mm,
It depends if we are communicating the right things going on. It depends if I saw your property. It depends on if you've done the diagnostics the way we would, by checking your soil, sending it off maybe for a soil test or something. So I guess there's an opportunity there. I haven't done it yet for trees.
mm. I think there's what I see in the industry. There's a lot of opportunity for people who are creative um, with their messaging to homeowners, with how they interact with homeowners. Instead of just being a service where you hire us one time, we turn up on your property, we prune a tree, and then we'll come back 3 years later to remove
Mm.
one. That constant education. This is educating homeowners who we really don't know much about our trees. I mean, my trees grow, I guess. I might find out in about 50
Right?
years. But if somebody was, constantly giving me information and helping me learn as a homeowner, I think I'd be really inclined to take lot more care of my trees naturally, because I don't know what I don't know.
Mhm.
So I think a tree service company that really is good at promoting what they do and talking to homeowners is going to be one that succeeds.
I agree. And
Mm,
every business, there's a lot of creativity that can happen, right? And I like to think outside the box. So, if you're not
mm,
sure, like again, I'll talk to 10 different people and say, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of that idea? And then I take all my
mm,
resources and say, what do I want to do? um,
yeah,
but I agree with you.
yeah,
I think but I don't think a homeowner wants, you know, I'm going to use box tree moth again just because it's such a devastating
mm,
insect, but I don't think people care that there's multiple potential life cycles. I don't think they care. I mean, I think they care, but I think what they see is their boxwoods really look horrible. What are you going to do for me? You know? So I think it's
yeah,
important that in that conversation, maybe we do talk about, hey, this could have up to 5 life cycles, depending on when you notice the damage. But most insects
mm,
don't have that kind of thing unless you're going into the southeast and across the south. So a lot of, say, middle US, northern, a lot of our insects are maybe 1, 2 generations per year. So we could tell people that, or what I find even more intriguing, I don't know if it'll take off, maybe the marketing guy will tell me. um, I feel like you need to put something in front of the homeowner that they can go out and then see themselves. So
mm,
for you, Graham, to go out, I want you to see something that comes up in social media that you're going to be able to go out and see in your yard if you have it right now. So if you have
Japanese people.
exactly a perfect example. No, it is though, because everybody hates Japanese beetles, but it's a very quick acting insect. It
Mm,
does damage for maybe a
yeah,
couple of weeks. It never
yeah,
kills a tree. It does interrupt photosynthesis, of course. You know,
mm,
but if you don't, here in Pennsylvania, I need to put that out to people like mid-June, because I have
mm,
2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of July essentially for Japanese beetle. That's it.
yeah,
So I like to do that. I think that if I put something on social media that says, hey, go look for this in your yard right now and give us a call if you find it, I think that helps the homeowner say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I like starting
mm,
with vegetables also. I don't treat vegetables. In fact, I guess you can't see my garden back there, but um, it's a great place to relate with people. I would never suggest a tree
Mm,
company do any kind of, vegetable gardens. However, I do think marketing in regards to vegetables really hits home with a lot of homeowners. There's a lot of homeowners trying to grow their tomato plant or something, whatever that might be. And soil amendments are crucial. Again, great soil for their plants. And most people understand that because they're going to, the big box stores to get their potting
right,
mixes. And, so
right.
I don't think it hurts. Like I said, I don't want a tree company doing fruits and vegetables necessarily. Um, but it doesn't hurt to make that correlation so a homeowner can understand.
Yeah, I mean, if you tell me about tomatoes, I understand.
Exactly.
And I could relate that to my trees, I
Right.
guess.
It's still a plant, Graham. It's still a plant.
It is, it needs care, otherwise not going well. So, Kathy, we're just coming up on top of the hour here. It's been a really interesting conversation, and I would love to continue it in the future for sure. Um, where can people find you? Because your company is very unique, and I know you're helping a lot of people, and I think it would be great if you help even more.
Thank you. So you can email me at kglassey@inspiregreeninc.com. You can certainly go to our website and submit a web form. I'll end up seeing it anyway. Um, or connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook. Doesn't matter. We're on both. Actually, I'm on LinkedIn, but the business is on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'm on Facebook personally. So just connect with me.
Super, and I'll make sure that in the podcast notes we give all the links as well to your company too.
Sounds good. I think they need to use more of your marketing's important,
It
Graham.
is,
So I'm really glad we're talking.
it is, and I just love what you do, and I thought it would be really, really interesting to get a message out there. And of course, the podcast will be there for years to come.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much, Kathy.